Hey, everybody, welcome to the Struggling Hunters, where we're working hard every day on pushing through our struggles. I'm Eric,
I'm Joe,
and we are the Struggling Hunters.
struggling hunters.
I just realized that I said Struggling Hunters in the introduction, so I was kind of like, I shouldn't say it twice, but here I am.
Well, it's that whole, the more you hear something, the more likely you're going to do something about it, right? So
Right.
the more time they hear the struggling hunters, the more time it's going to get stuck in their head.
And hit that subscribe button while they're at it.
Exactly.
I like
Because,
I like the way you think.
and I like the way they're thinking too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, tonight, guys, we gonna just kind of go down some rabbit holes and have a little fun with it. Uh, Joe and I, we were just kind of talking about some things that we wanted to get before this next hunting season, and we thought, and we were kind of going down those rabbit holes before the podcast, and thought, hey, let's stop and just talk about this on the podcast because other people would probably like to hear some of our rhymes and reasons of what we're wanting to gear up for the next hunting season. So, with that said, I'm gonna hand it off to you, Joe, and let's talk about what you're wanting to get for this next hunting season. What your big purchase item is for the upcoming
So,
season.
big purchase item for this coming season is hopefully going to be a new pair of boots. And I think I got them picked out. I'm about 95% positive of what I'm going to do, and I'm going to pick up a pair of Kenetrex Heart Scrabble, um, non-insulated. Uh, was it the 8 inch? Did they have a? I can't remember if there was but like a higher.
Yeah, I
Uh,
want to say the one that I was looking at was 10, but I could be wrong.
yeah, no, 10 inch tall pair of boots, and so they have the Gore-Tex uninsulated. Um, and like Eric was saying, we're sitting here talking about what we're going to be doing, and I kind of started going into what I was looking for in a boot and why I was looking for it in a boot, and kind of why I was looking that way. And we're like, hold on, that's a good, it's a good topic to to be discussing. Um, and so here we are, and so boots. I don't growing up the way I don't know. No, I shouldn't say the way we did, but growing up where we were in Idaho, you know, logging was kind of the big industry, so we were around a lot of logging boots, and I love a logging boot. Um, I fought forest fires after graduated. I'll circle back into my boot purchase or boots I want to purchase. Just trying to get, I guess, lay the footwork for boots and my I guess my love for boots, if you want to call it that. But I like boots, and I like a good pair of boots. And so back when graduated high school, went fought fires, and getting being around that type of environment, you have a wide variety of boots and what people look for, and why they look for it, and even boot makers, and so I didn't really know like kind of what a good boot was. I kind of knew what it looked like, but as far as brands go, like that's I got introduced to whites,
Mm.
and forever I'll probably someday I'll probably buy me a pair of whites, but I remember the first time I tried a pair of them on, and my foot just like it felt at home, like it's like, oh man, for a hard sole boot, this feels good. And I don't think there's a lot of cushion in them, but it's just a well-made boot. And that was the first time I put one on and laced them up. I just loved the way it felt. And but so that year that I fought fires, I ended up buying a pair of West Coasts,
Mm.
and which is a pretty good brand of boots. And I actually still have them, and I almost sent those in. I found out that I can send them in, and they'll resize them and put a new sole and a new leather bottom and use your leather uppers. And so at some point, I'm going to send those back, and those will probably turn into like a pair of camp boots, or like a not so much like a work pair of boots, just because I've had them this long. I might as well try to see how much longer I can just have them, I guess. And being that I bought them when I did, but yeah, still have those ones. So then wearing those, and then other boots, trying to pay attention to what I've always wanted, talking to other hunters, and finally, like, I was finally got turned on to actual kind of hiking hunting boots, and a good pair, and got one. um Guy at work turned me on to Kenetrex. I actually got a pair of his hand-me-downs that I've been hunting in the last couple of years, and their soles are about worn out on those. And but instead, I know I could probably get them resold, but I'd like to actually get me a brand new pair. And then those ones are, I think, a size or two too big, so give me a pair that actually fits correctly. Um, but as far, and then so trying to find what I'd like in a pair of boots. It seems like lately I've been turning across other brands of boots without trying, that they're still in that price range of those Hart Scrabble Kenetrex, or just Kenetrex, and then you have like Crispies, and then there's like a Shawnee. Then I think that's how you say it. I'm probably butchering the name. Oh, and I just saw a couple other boots I just looked at a couple days ago, but like staying in that price range. And so now back to where I was before I went down that rabbit hole. Um, but like what I've started to look for in a pair of boots, and what I've noticed too, is that hiking. I've had people tell me that if you carry a heavy pack, you want like a stiffer sole boot, and I didn't quite understand that until I was talking to someone a couple years ago, and they said, "Well, yeah, well, if you think about it, if you got a heavier pack and you're hiking around in the woods and you step on rocks, or you know on a log or something, and you just have a kind of a light sole boot, that you're going to feel what you step on easier."
Mm.
And you're not going to have like the foot support that you're going to need with that heavier pack. And so I stewed on that for a couple years, and trying to understand that a little bit, and then trying on Kenetrex, and uh um Zamberlins is another good brand. I tried on a pair of Zamberlins. They fit really good too. But so what I've come, so Joe's, I don't have them numbered, but Joe's points of interest to boots and what he looks for, and what I've found over the years, for me at least, is I can get away with kind of a non-insulated boot. My feet run warm. And one of the things that you kind of run into too with boots is, no matter what boot there is, that if you want a waterproof boot, or if you want a boot that breathes, you can't really have both.
Mm.
So like if you have a pair of boots that are really well waterproof, they're not going to breathe all that well. But if you have a pair of boots that breathe pretty good, they're not, like, you can waterproof them, but they're not going to be as waterproof as long. Then your feet start getting wet. And so, like I said, the one thing I found is my feet run a little warmer. And so in a pair of good water, when I want to go on the more of the waterproof side of the boot. So I know that my feet are going to sweat more. They're not going to breathe. So I feel, and then I feel I can get away with kind of a non-insulated boot for that reason. I just will wear more socks or, to keep my feet warm that way. Uh, and then the one thing that I liked about, so I guess why did I choose the Kenetrex? Um, One thing is that they're made in America, and which is kind of a big deal. And then I like the fact that their boots, depending on the boot you choose, is that it's kind of made from one piece of leather. So being that it's made from one piece of leather, that's less stitching, and less stitching. That's less areas where water can get into your boot. Um, and then also on the Kenetrex, they have that stiffer, which you start getting in that price range. A lot of your boots are going to have that stiffer sole. But yet there's, I still feel like they're a comfortable boot, and um, and I feel that it helps, like, as you're, uh, I think they even tell you the way that the sole is designed will help you climbing up and down mountains, because of that stiffer sole, less foot fatigue. Um, let's see what else is there. But I think, one of the things to keep in mind too is, people have told me that too is a boot made in Italy, like, kind of all about like that American made. You want that American stamp, but a boot made in Italy kind of, is probably a pretty good boot, pretty well made boot, because especially for the hiking side of it, because people in Italy have been hiking for in rougher terrain, climbing the icy mountains or whatever, longer than we have here in America. So yeah, we're kind of, we can probably make a pretty good boot, but they might have just a handful of little secrets that that they're putting into their boot. So that's a kind of a food for thought too. Um,
And what brand is over there? Or I can't.
so the ones that I found, I think Crispy is made in Italy. Zamberlins are made in Italy,
Zamberlins. That's
and
that's the ones that I know. I couldn't think of the brand, or I couldn't think of their name, but Zamberlins, I've heard of them before. I've heard that they're really good boot.
I've tried one pair on that, like, they felt good. And but like I said, I think mine just kind of came. I just actually I sat down at the at the outdoor show hunting expo in 2020 last year and talked to the guy there, and I think he thought I actually tried a pair on. Felt kind of bad. I was like, I just want to try them on. Never tried them on before, and he tried to sell me on them. I was like, oh no, I'm not ready yet. And then he dropped me. He was done. I'm just kidding.
He wanted no more to do with you, huh?
Yeah. But but then, like, Zamberlin, or sorry, Kenetrek, they do some warranty work on their boots. I think they'll resole the boot for you for like $100 or $80. You wear the sole out, they'll put a new sole on them. So that's, and then they're based out of Montana, so that's kind of a cool thing, I think.
Yeah.
But so I guess to wrap up Joe's boot stipulations, or Joe's what Joe looks for in a boot is well-made boot. Probably, a good warranty on it. Um, like I said, that the heavier, the stiffer sole, waterproof or non-insulated or insulated, depending on what you want, what you need. Um, I think that covers it.
So, well, you brought up a good point that I kind of wanted to go back to real quick before we move on, is the stiffer sole, or being better for a heavier pack. I think that's pretty important to note, because I mean, I've had feet fatigue, if you will, and or foot fatigue rather, and yeah, it's no fun. It's no fun whenever your feet are hurting really bad at the end of the day. And as much as I always tell myself that I'm gonna prep up and wear a weighted pack and go hike around before hunting season, I never really seem to get around to it. So whenever I'm out there hunting, uh it's all these different new muscles that I'm working, and everything's weighing down. And you saying that kind of piqued my interest. I'm like, maybe I should look at some stiffer soles for the
Right.
to combat against the foot fatigue. I mean, I think the biggest trick about being out there in the woods, you just want to try to go as far as you can, as long as you can, until you
Right.
get your animal. And so every little micro thing that helps you keep on pushing on really helps a lot. And I never really thought about that, about a stiffer sole, help you with your pack, and even your pack out, I'd imagine. And then with what you said, like going over rocks and filling everything less with that stiffer sole, I think that's pretty important things to think about for sure.
Right. Yeah. And like, you know, I don't like, I think, you can probably get away with whatever, find something within your price point. Like I said, this is Tracks are a little bit on the higher price point that I've ever bought. But then again, like they're gonna be my hunting boot, so I'm probably gonna have them for hopefully 5, 6, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna help with that. And then within that 5, 6, 7 years, for me, I kind of look at it as if I buy just a normal pair of boots, I'm gonna go through 3 or 4 pair in the time that I go through this pair. I
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah, which in the end, I mean, you're either spending more or just as much on the cheaper pair than just springing for the more expensive pair. But it's hard sometimes. I mean, like me and Joe,
Right.
we're just regular hunters that, I mean, we're on a budget, we're not sponsored yet. And so um yeah, just trying to get the best equipment we can to up our chances out there in the woods. So um making these investments, and like you said, most everything that I've gotten myself, I mean, I try to think of it as more of a long-term investment than the fact that it might cost a little more right now. And times of use, so the more you use it, the less it costs, right? Like
Right.
that's how I justify things sometimes. I'm like, if I use this enough, the cost per use will be pretty low. So that's how I justify that more expensive stuff. But um also just the experience, having that better stuff. I mean, I've upgraded a lot of my stuff the last couple of years, and I don't know, I'm pretty excited about it, honestly. And I'm not. I did buy. I bought a pair of boots. They were kind of a little cheaper, on the cheaper side, so I'm gonna try to get a couple years out of them before I buy another pair. But they were Irish settlers, which I mean, so far they've been pretty good. I've every time I've worn them, I've felt pretty good in them, or they're pretty
Yeah.
comfortable boot.
Well,
Um,
like
obviously
I've
they don't have as hard of a sole, but they're
yeah.
they've done all right for me.
Well, like I've like on that note, like I've hunted in a pair of Keens for a couple years. I wore those out, and I hunted in a pair of Danner, uh like kind of the low logging hill, like I don't remember what they call it, but it's not the big stacked hill, but the lower hill. And I've resold those twice or once at least now. And I still have them as like kind of a backup pair of boots for hunting.
Hmm.
Um, and then one year I even hunted in or I still got those, but I bought the wrong size and I didn't realize it. But a pair of high tech, just a pair of cheaper boots, and they did good for me. You know, I'd probably
Yeah.
be hunting those ones a little bit, but like I said, I for whatever reason bought. I don't know if just the way I was walking that day in the store, but I bought a half a size too small. And at the store, I was like, "Yeah, these fit how I want them to fit." And I got out in the woods and hiking around, and I was like, "Dude, I keep stubbing my toe."
I did the same before I got those Irish settlers. I did the same exact thing. Felt good in the store. Got them out there in the when I went hiking with you, or whenever I went hunting with you this last year. I think I had those because I got them between your hunt and my hunt, the Irish settlers, and I can't remember the brand. I can't remember the brand that I got, or this other brand. They're a good boot though. They're practically they're not quite brand new, but they're still in really good shape. But I can't wear them. I mean, my feet get to hurting in half a day of hiking around. My feet are hurting horrible. And but I did the same thing. They were comfortable in the store, and I got about a half size too small, and so my toes just like I said, a half day of hiking, my toes are hurting like crazy. I don't want to walk downhill, that's for sure. Uphill feels a
Right.
lot better than downhill.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's important to get the right size of boot.
Well, that's
And
like the sorry, like I say, that's the one thing to pay attention to too. Like, going through trying to decide what boot I want to get. Like, that's before I guess a couple of my drawbacks is Trek. Like they don't make a different width sizes. It's kind of just a one width fits all.
mm,
You can't get a wider boot or a narrow boot within a shoe size. Um, but then like I think the Crispies. I don't know about the Zamberlins. I don't recall, but the Crispies run a little bit wider than the Kenetrek. So like that's another thing to keep in mind too is like where I'm gonna plan on not buying an insulated pair and just wear good socks in the wintertime with them because I got to make sure that I got enough room for that thicker pair of socks too, and that it's not making my foot uncomfortable while I'm hiking in the wintertime.
yeah, yeah. Kind of with what you just said, that was actually another thing I was going to bring up is, or spend a little more time on. You've kind of talked about it, but the insulated versus non-insulated. I'm a lot like you, where my feet will start sweating, and I get if I have insulated on. Um, so my boots that I currently have are 400 grain, and I mean they do all right, but I prefer actually non-insulated for the same reason is my feet get to sweating so bad, and then if I do stop and glass or whatever the case, whatever for whatever reason I'm stopping, then my feet start getting really cold because you know not sweating in my feet as much, and that's where I kind of like the non-insulated to kind of help prevent from sweating as much. Or I mean, at least that's the idea.
Right. So like funny story along those lines. So years ago, right after I think it was the first year after me and Jen got married. Oh, this would have been, I think it was the fall of 2007. I had a college buddy that invited me to go um, elk hunting with him. And and so I was like, yeah, I want to go, So got my tag, and then I had my West Coast those boots that I was fighting fires with. I had those were the only boots I had, and this was my first actual like camping hunting experience. Like we've said before, like growing up in Idaho, we just would leave from our house, or like we didn't really camp and then go hunting. Not that that had anything to do with it, but this whole experience was kind of new for me, and I hadn't hunted really that hard for a couple of years, so I was out of practice, and I felt so much like a greenhorn that
Mm.
year I went hunting with them. Like I was, as we're going up, got up in the morning, started going up hunting. I had my rifle loaded, and I sling it over my shoulder, and I'm hiking up, and it's my first year with glasses too. Like I wear glasses, so I've just got glasses that spring, and so, and it's October. We're up at before the crack of dawn and hiking up the hill. My glasses are fogging up, and you know I'm like, oh shoot, I don't know what to do because it's a whole new experience for me. And that my buddy's dad that's with us, he taps me on the shoulder and is like, "Hey, your bolt opened up," So I'm hiking and my bolts dropped out, and
Uh,
I'm like, "Oh shoot!" And then and then then we get to where we're sitting and watching for the day, and then I don't think it snowed, but it was a cold day. I remember it being cold, and my feet just started to freezing. Like,
mm,
like I never I've hunted in December back home in Idaho, but I was kind of ready for it, and I think I kept moving then too. But like yeah, we just sat and I set up. I had one spot and I sat and watched for a couple, like almost all day, and my feet just like that was the only thing. I just remember my feet just hurting and
mm.
freezing. Like almost numb, probably almost I on that verge of being I don't know, frostbite, or maybe I'm probably over exaggerating, but they were cold. And when you walk, they kind of tingled. But um, and I remember like I got home, I told Jen, I was like, man, my feet were so cold. And so she's like, well, let's get you a pair of boots. So saved up. Cabela's had a sale on a pair of like winter boots that were, I think they were like 800 grams or more. I can't remember, but they were, they were like the cheaper boot, but I think I paid 110 for them. But I just was like, man, they just got so much insulation in them that's what I want. So uh, then we got a couple CWMU tags in December, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna use my boots. Like I got these nice insulated boots. My feet are not gonna get cold, and it's gonna be a good day. And so there was like 4 or 5 inches of snow, and we hiked around and chased some elk around. And end of the day, I get home and take my boots off, and my socks are just like sopping wet. And I was like, dude, like my pant legs weren't that wet, So I thought like the snow melted and like went up my pant legs, and then like dripped down into my boots. And so that, and then like the next time I went out, I made sure to, I think I tucked my pant legs inside my boots that time, so that way the snow couldn't travel down. And then I get back home and my socks are just sopping wet again. And I was like, oh, that insulation's working. My feet are just sweating that much.
Yeah.
So, and then, like it, and I know that I say my feet run a little warm, and by tell the story of my feet about freezing, but like I've one of the learning experiences, and learning how to hunt and how I'm going to hunt and to prepare for that, like, yeah, okay, get me a good pair of boots, put the, waterproof boot, wear the proper sock, and then my feet, should stay pretty good.
And that's probably more of the key too, is the sock. A good sock that kind of wicks away the sweat as you
Yeah.
do sweat, but it also keeps you warm. I think that really helps. Every year, every hunting season, I seem to buy a couple pair of socks and or hunting socks, and I don't know. It seems to work for me pretty good. But mine are 400 grain, but I don't ever really have. I don't seem to ever. My feet don't ever seem to freeze too bad.
Yeah. but yeah, so but that was a I just remember my feet were just so cold. And I think
Oh,
I
I
just had,
bet.
they were just leather boots, and I think I just had cotton socks on, like that's just how I hunted, but I never that their method was just sit and watch because they're kind of hunting a high pressured area. So they would allow everybody else to do the work. And that's how they've been successful that way. Hopefully I'm not giving away secrets, um but yeah, but I've since have learned, to plan how I'm gonna hunt and then dress accordingly now. So learning experience.
Yeah, for sure. Boots can be tricky, man. They can either make your hunt or ruin your hunt for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why I'll probably fall in line in the next year or two and probably get a more expensive pair myself. But that'll be exciting though when you get
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
exciting to get new equipment, new
True.
gear.
Exactly.
I get a little carried away with it myself, I feel like, but it's fun getting that gear, man. I love it. I love the new hunting technologies that are out there, especially surrounded by the gear.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
it's interesting.
but you kind of made a good point. Just the way we hunted, and I mean, we lived in a really small town, and um, the benefits of that was the woods was practically out of our back door. I mean, I just never, me and you both, I think we kind of both were the same way. Um, Never really had to go camping, I mean, I did a few times. I've said this before. One of my buddies, him and his family and his family friends would like make a big old hunting camp. And I went up there a few times, but uh uh it was only a few times, wasn't really a big deal. But most of the time I went hunting, it was just wake up, real early, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and try to get to where we were going as fast as we could, and a little before light, and then start hiking the trails. And that's kind of the way I always hunted, but yeah, as far as the camping stuff, I just never really done it growing up. Just usually took off early in the morning.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I feel like with all these other hunting podcasts, hunting shows, and uh they've kind of taught us all how to hunt a little bit differently. I mean, there's just things that they do differently than the way that we grew up doing it. I mean,
Right.
most of the hunting shows, if you I mean, there's probably some, but whenever we were growing up and when I was watching hunting shows before I'd go to school in the morning or something, most of those guys were, I mean, going to going to a private ranch, and I mean, they were kind of all set up to get their animal, so
On
I
the
mean,
other
they weren't, but I'm just saying, like, the people that we looked up to back then, they didn't necessarily show us like, hey, you got to be out here backpacking for 3 days animal. It was a quick, easy private land ranch
right. Well, I feel
hunt.
like a lot of it too was all whitetail hunts too. Like I don't really remember all that many mule deer. You know, I mean, yeah, there are some elk hunting videos, but like mule deer hunts, I don't remember all that many mule deer hunts. It was all, whitetail sitting on a food plot or in a tree stand in the woods. Like, yeah,
That's what I mostly remember too. I'm sure there it was sprinkled in. I'm sure all those hunts were sprinkled in. Like, I can't really remember for certain, um but it definitely seems like the majority were whitetail, Texas, private land hunts.
yeah,
I think Texas. I can't remember for sure, but
I just my mind just takes me like to the Midwest too.
Or the mid, yeah, probably more the Midwest than Texas. I don't know, but it was yeah. As I said that, I was like, I don't even know if Texas has whitetails or if it's all considered coos deer down there. Not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, neither am I.
Or cows deer, depending on
Who you are?
who you are. Which I think only like a smaller percentage of people say that it's cows deer, but everybody says it's coos deer. But the people that say that it's cows deer want to argue with the 98% of people that say that it's coos deer.
Right.
It's kind of a funny. I don't know. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, getting back on, I guess getting back on track with just gear in general. Um, I'll jump into. I've talked about it before. Um, I pretty much have a cheap little pack, little frame and pack that I kind of hobbled together myself, and um, I've been hunting with that the last few years, and trying to make do with it the best I could. But I'm definitely looking into getting a new pack. We've talked about it before, like I said, but Joe has a Badlands 2200, and I love that thing. Um, I'd say, and it's really not a bad pack at all. But the one that always kind of reaches out to me personally is the Mystery Ranch packs, which I think I've kind of landed on the Marshall because it has those two front pockets where you could stuff all kinds of stuff. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons is those front pockets, but they're kind of built for like a spotting scope or a tripod or whatever. But it kind of appeals to me. The reason I want to get it, man. The hardest thing is though is they're just in that price range that you're like, wow, man, that's definitely an investment. But that's kind of what my goal is this year. Is that's one of my big purchases is one of those packs. But I don't know. The Badlands always kind of reaches out to me too because I know how comfortable they are, and and they're good packs. They're really good packs. I mean, obviously, like I said, Joe has one, and
Yeah, and I've liked it, used it for the last 3 4 years. Packed
yeah,
out one deer with it so far, but it's it's held up and it's no real big complaints about it. Like anything, I'm sure I could really find something, but it's been I've been happy with it.
yeah, yeah. You're the one that kind of got me into packs a lot more because, as my father-in-law says, I used to be kind of more of a minimalist than anything. Just um, kind of go out there with my rifle and do my thing. But but yeah, after Joe got his Badlands pack, I'm like, oh, I need one of those. But it's like it's one of the last things that like I said, I kind of got this one that I've hobbled together, but um, it was just a cheap frame and a cheap pack, and I basically put some uh clips and nylon straps to kind of attach them together and make it one big pack. But it worked, but the frame, obviously is a little too big and get in some of those tight spots in the woods or on the trails or if we're making new and my frame is hitting everything and kind of a big old pain. Just I was kind of embarrassed. When I went hunting with you, I had the same setup, and when I went hunting with you, I guess we were kind of in a little bit more open area because I didn't have any of those problems. But when we went to where all the scrub oak was in my area, it was everywhere. I mean, I was getting stuck with my pack frame everywhere, and I was like, man, this is annoying. So yeah, this year I'm planning on getting a new pack. I really, the other thing I like about the Marshall is it seems like they're, I feel like I've said all this before, but uh, the thing that I really like about the Marshall or the Mystery Ranch altogether is where the meat shelf is. It's a little easier to disassemble it and assemble it back up. You know, um, I've always been a fan of QU, but like whenever I look at their packs and they do the disassemble and somebody that's a QU that has a QU pack might argue with me on this, but um, every time I watch videos on how they assemble them and disassemble them and to get their meat packed in, and it looks kind of like a pain in the butt. They're, oh, just undo this strap, and then you got to undo this strap, and you're like, man, that's like 50 different straps, man. I don't want to be
Yeah.
doing all that. So anyway, yeah, I so far I kind of like Mystery. They just seem like a kind of a simple pack. The only thing that makes me want to kind of lean more toward Badlands is I don't really know if I need that big of a, because I want to say it's like 6,000 cubic inches or something like that. Like it might be a little less than that. Don't
What's that?
the size of the pack, like
Of
how much
which one?
store the Marshall for
The
Mystery
Marshall.
Ranch.
Yeah.
But
Okay, I
but
thought you
like
said Badlands. I was like, nah, mine's only 2,200.
I might have messed up. I might have messed up on that. But my point is yeah, where yours is only 2,200, it's really great for day packs. And me and I mean, one of these days we'll probably do some kind of backcountry hunting, but most every time we've ever been to, we've always just kind of leaned more toward a base camp hunt. So we're only gone for the day. So that's where I kind of lean back toward Badlands, because I'm like, well, I don't need I don't need a hotel room on my back.
Right.
So I don't know. And then Badlands is, I mean, not by much, but it is a little bit cheaper, but it's cheap
Right.
enough to at least consider going with the Badlands over the Mystery Ranch. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, that's kind of our two big purchases this year for our hunting seasons coming up is is a pair of good boots for Joe and a nice hunting pack for myself. So it'll be fun. And once we get these, maybe we'll do some kind of like review or video or something on them.
Yeah, for sure. That'll happen. I'd like to, kind of give into what maybe tipped me over whichever. Like I said, I'm 95% sure I'm gonna go with the Kenetrek, but I'm still that's I think kind of a I haven't quite made my decision because I haven't quite tried on all the different boots just yet. And I want to
Right.
make sure that I, that big of a purchase and get a pair that fit how I want them to.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be fun. And who knows, I might even completely change brands. I mean, I'm sitting here saying that it's pretty much up between Badlands and Mystery Ranch, but I could last second change too. So it'll be fun no matter which way we go with it. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other gear that I want to. I guess right now it's just trying to get good with my bow and do the best I can with that. And that's going to be a little bit different this year because it's going to be warmer weather for me. So it's going to, the last. I mean, I've always kind of hunted in late October or early November, so that's going to be it's going to be a little different doing the September hunt.
Right.
But it's exciting though.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. No, it is.
if I do get a draw for mule deer, then I'll be doing that in probably November. But but if not, then yeah, then definitely definitely going to be doing that September elk hunt. So I'm excited for it. I'm really
Well,
excited for it.
talking about hunts, let's just dive down turkey hunting because that's
Yeah,
I think that's what we decided. You get to start next month, don't you?
yeah. My opening day is April 10th, so I'm getting excited for that. Um, I'm yeah, I'm gonna try to film a little bit, put it up on our YouTube channel, and see what happens. But yeah, that I'm excited for the turkey hunt. It'll be my second year doing a turkey hunt, so hopefully I learned a few things from last year and put them to this year. I've been trying to do a little more studying and watching turkey hunts and trying to understand or TV shows, trying to understand exactly how those turkeys think and um so yeah, it's going to be exciting. Now you start a little later than me, right?
Yeah, I actually start. Let's see, when did I tell you? Let's look here. Um, I start May 3rd, so and I go through May 31st. So I just get the month of May to hunt. But that should be, you know, that's what it was last year. But kind of jealous you get 2 months at it.
It's great. It's crazy that I get so much time, but it'll be exciting either way. Yeah, I just had a thought. Last year, whenever I got my turkey tag last year, I want to say it was probably in May.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know for sure either. Well, that's what I was trying to sit here and think because I got mine last year, and I was trying to, and I think we got ours around the same time because I
I feel
feel like you're like, oh, I picked up my turkey tag, and I was like, yeah, well, because me being uh, as uneducated as I was and still am, I just thought that there was a draw for the spring turkey tag. I didn't realize there was 2 seasons in Utah. There's a an early season that you draw and a late season that you can over the counter get a tag. And went to work the next day and people were like, oh, one coworkers that hunted turkeys were like, did you get your turkey tag? Like, oh, I didn't draw out, and they're like, oh no, you just go get it over the counter. Like, oh,
yeah, I'm trying to remember the reason I brought that up though is because so in Colorado they have a horn or a antler season um, that starts May 1st, and I remember the first weekend that I went out after I got my tags, and I can't remember if it was April or not, but I was surprised how many people were out and about. Now, this was during like when COVID was kind of still pretty new and lockdowns were happening, and so there was a couple things that I thought might have been contributing to everybody being out in the woods. One of them being is everybody's like, "Hey, it's crazy around here. Let's just get out in the woods and get away." I think that might have been the bigger one, but I also thought that I was like, man, there must be a lot of people that love to hunt turkey. And but I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, well, they're probably horn hunting also. So
true.
uh, yeah, so I'm kind of wondering if that's why so many people were out last year too. Because I was surprised. I was like, man, I didn't realize turkey was such a big thing to do, but um yeah, I'm kind of thinking everybody was out horn hunting now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because I was the only one with a shotgun. It seemed like I saw other people, but nobody had a shotgun on them. Everybody was just riding their four wheelers and stuff. So I only came across a few turkey hunters. So now that I say all that. The whole reason I brought that up, man, I feel like I'm kind of all over the place right now, but the whole reason I brought that up was because I'm hoping that getting a, you know, good start on turkey hunting and getting out there on opening day, maybe it'll up my chances with pressure and stuff, up my chances to get me a turkey right off the bat.
Yeah, let's hope.
I probably just jinxed it. I'm gonna knock on wood real quick.
No, you didn't jinx it. You're if you don't get one, you're gonna at least see one this year.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope so. I, speaking of that, I saw a bunch a couple weekends ago. Um, the problem is I think it's another area. I'm not 100% sure if I can hunt that area or not. Well, it's surrounded by a bunch of private property, but I mean, there is probably I don't think I'm overestimating if I say between 20 and 30 turkey. They were kind of in the general same area, but they were kind of in two different spots. Um, but there was a ton of them. I was like, man, I didn't realize there were so many turkey out here. But um, yeah, I got excited. But like I said, it was kind of on private, or it seems like it's on private land. I don't know.
Well,
Anyway,
that's when you grab your Onyx and figure out where the public land is and get in there.
oh, that's kind of the plan. The other part to that though is I don't think it is not for turkey season, but uh I don't know. There's just fences around everywhere, so I don't really know where the access point is. I guess is,
Uh,
and there's a few. It's out. It's kind of out in the woods, but there's a few houses like right there where I saw the turkeys. There was houses 100 yards away from me, so I don't know quite
well,
what that looks like to hunt.
the one of the things too is checking to see because I know in Utah, like there's a distance that you have to be from houses or structures depending on what weapon you're using to hunt with. Like archery, it's like 200 yards or 50 yards or 100 yards I think from a structure. Shotgun I think is like 500 yards, and then a rifle you have to be like a mile away. Muzzle loader is like half a mile or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I guess I should say don't quote me on any of that. I, I don't know if it's what it is now or if that's what it was at one point or not.
Yeah, and that's the other trick or tricky part too is there's a sign. There's a sign there. There's a bunch of them every so often, and they say Colorado state land, but you can only use like short distance rifles or something like that. No long distance rifles, which I assumed was like you could use shotgun probably, but
Right.
It's all fit. It's kind of hard to explain on here, but it's all fenced off. But it says Colorado state land, but then there's a house. I always thought it was more. I just kind of always overlooked it until I saw those turkeys and I started looking around. I'm like, man, could I hunt around here? Like, is there any possible way? And but I always thought it was the house that's right down the road that I'm talking about. I always thought it was just their property. I'd never really thought twice about it, and until I saw all those turkeys, then I started really trying to figure it out. So um, yeah, so if I can hunt over there, that's probably where I'll go because, like I said, I just saw all those turkey. That same area. I wish I could explain it better. I really don't. I mean, I don't know how to explain it better, but that same area across the canyon, almost every time that I drive up there, there's a herd of elk that are just hanging out right there across the canyon in this big open field. So they're usually gone by hunting season, but
Oh, dang
but
it.
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to I need to get one of those things with the phone.
Phone scope.
the phone scope so I can get better pictures. Cause I tried to take some pictures a while back and they just didn't turn out very good. So I never posted them anywhere,
Gotcha.
but
But yeah. Well, shoot, I think maybe, I don't know. I mean, we can go on talking turkey hunting, prepping for turkey hunting, but I think I want to save that for another episode because we're, where you're, I mean, you're a week away from turkey hunting, so I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more turkey hunting the next month and a half now that, there are 2 months, I guess, that you're going to be hunting. So, um, yeah, so we won't kill turkeys too much talking about them for this episode. Um, I guess with that being said, is there anything you want to say in wrapping it up?
yeah, I'll say something real quick, guys. Everybody that's still listening to this point, I appreciate you guys so much. Me and Joe both do. And, we're on a slow growth pattern. I mean, but we're growing every week and we're getting views, we're getting listens, and it's just really awesome. I really think that we're taking this channel somewhere, and it's because of you guys tuning in and showing support. So with that said, thank you guys so much. And if this is the first time that you're listening to us, hit that subscribe button on your podcast platform or your YouTube platform, and give us a follow and help support us. We'd really appreciate it. With that said, Joe, that's all I got. So take it away.
Thanks. And I'll just say ditto to what Eric just said. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And like I said, we'll probably be talking turkeys a lot more the next couple, I guess, months. I guess too. We'll be having turkey stories or something to share with you. So look forward to that. Um, Thanks for listening and keep pushing through your struggles. Don't give up. Keep going, and we'll talk to you guys in a week. Have a good one.
Later, guys.